We had a garden-level apartment below our house that we rarely ever used or even went to. When my sister got married, we came up with the plan of offering it to her to live in with her new husband. And we would have basically a linked household where our kids could grow up together. She would pay us rent, but far below the market rate. We were all super excited for this. We had known her husband for a long time. They started dating 5 to 6 years ago, so it's not like he was a stranger. But them living below us has opened up some things about their relationship to us, notably about my sister being cruel and neurotic towards him, to a level that I could only really describe as controlling hurtful behavior. We can sometimes hear her below us when she gets loud, aka often, but it's often just right in front of us, no hiding it. Chastising him over his hobbies, making cruel jokes about his weight, yelling at him over small things. Now that we are with them a lot, we see this out in the open increasingly. And the worst part is how much my sister has this kind of, husbands, am I right? Attitude towards me. As if I endorse or condone how she treats him as some kind of sisterly womanhood thing. Like, no, not at all. I do not shriek at my husband and call him a lazy idiot when he accidentally burns popcorn. That is not normal behavior. I do not get mad or furious or cruel at him for playing video games or hanging out with his friends or watching TV or drinking beer. She acts like he is the laziest person in the world for doing these things. Yet he literally works a full-time job while she works 10 hours a week teaching Zumba and yoga classes. It's especially notable with video games. She hates such video games to such an irrational degree. He doesn't even play that much. She complained about him playing one day for apparently 2 hours straight, acting like that was some insane amount of time. She was taking a nap for those 2 hours. It's not like he was ignoring her, she just hates it. And he just looks defeated, like he is used to it now. You can see his face just turn down and dark when she gets like that. It's hard to truly tell how he feels about it on the inside. Anyways, we are now really regretting this decision 5 months in. I have sort of hinted at the idea that I disagree with how she treats her husband. But it's such an awkward thing to talk about with your own sister. Like, almost impossibly awkward. We never fight. Never have. I know that's weird for siblings, but it's always been how we are. It's funny because looking back, she has always been kind of like this towards men in general. She treated our brother like this. She treated boys in high school like this. The signs were there. But I always thought it was just an angsty teenage phase kind of thing. But both my husband and I agree now that she either has to change how she is or move out. We have kids, young kids. I do not want them exposed to her acting like this. We had a child psychologist talk to us about this and explain that exposure to that type of behavior at their age can normalize it in their brain and result in a much higher chance of them ending up with similar problems, rage, cruelty, etc. I just don't know how to approach this. It's so uncomfortable and awkward. It sometimes makes me so internally furious inside on his behalf. I can't believe this horrible, cruel woman was the sister I loved for all these decades of my life. What do we do? How do we approach this? Do we try and change her, or do we just kick them out? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, stop hinting. Stop rolling your eyes and hoping. Tell her that you want to talk to her. Tell her that you are concerned about her behavior and what it is bringing into your house. Tell her you find her behavior towards her husband extremely hurtful and it is difficult to be around. Tell her how her behavior is negatively affecting you and that you believe that your children are starting to feel it as well. Tell her you disagree with almost every aspect of her behavior towards her husband and men in general, and you need it to change immediately because of the tension in your household. If she is apologetic and understanding, then great. Recommend therapy for her and see how it goes. If she turns this behavior towards you, then great. Tell her that she can do that. By the end of the week, you are going to formally send her the notice just to protect yourself. Comment 2. I think you're oblivious to how badly this post paints you, OP. I have sort of hinted at the idea that I disagree with how she treats her husband. But it's such an awkward thing to talk about with your own sister. Like, almost impossibly awkward. Really? More awkward than watching your sister abuse her husband in front of your kids. Oh wait, since your idea is to kick them out and ignore the issue, at least your kids won't have to watch. That's better, I guess. Please tell your sister you're sick of watching her abuse, and tell your brother-in-law you are here for him. You can't force her to be a better person or brother-in-law to leave, but standing aside and or abandoning him is a terrible look. Now, for the update, thanks for sticking around to hear more of this mess. So, we had a family dinner last week, right? It was supposed to be a nice evening. But halfway through, my sister's husband, let's call him Mark, dropped his fork. And it was like he dropped a bomb. My sister went off on him, right there at the table. The kids were wide-eyed and I was boiling inside. But that wasn't even the worst part. The next day, I found out Mark had been secretly recording my sister's outbursts. He played one for me, and it was bad. I mean, I knew she was harsh, but this was another level. He was planning to use the recordings if he ever needed to get out, like for a divorce or something. I felt betrayed by him, keeping this secret. But then again, I got why he did it. After that, things got even crazier. My sister found the recordings. She came storming up to our place, accusing us of plotting against her. She thought we helped Mark record her. It was a full-on screaming match. I tried to calm things down, but she wouldn't have it. She stormed out, saying she'd never forgive us. Mark was devastated. He apologized to us, saying he never meant for it to get out. He just wanted some leverage, some protection. I felt for the guy, but I was also mad he dragged us into this. It was a mess. And then, as if things couldn't get any worse, my sister did something unbelievable. She took all of Mark's stuff, his clothes, his gaming console, everything, and threw it out on the lawn. It was like something out of a TV show. Neighbors were watching, the kids saw it all. It was humiliating for Mark, and I was ashamed of my sister. But here's the kicker. Mark forgave her. Just like that. He said he understood why she was upset and that he'd try to be better. I couldn't believe it. After everything, he was just going to let it slide? I was fuming. I wanted to shake some sense into him, but he just went back to her, picking up his things from the lawn with this defeated look on his face. Now they're acting like nothing happened. My sister is all sweet and apologetic, and Mark is just going along with it. It's like they're living in some alternate reality. And I'm here, wondering if I'm the only one seeing how twisted this all is. We talked to the kids about what they saw, trying to make sure they understand that's not how people should treat each other. But I'm worried. What if they think this is normal? What if they grow up thinking it's okay to be walked all over or to walk all over someone else? I'm at a loss. Want to help Mark, but he doesn't seem to want to help himself. And my sister? Well, I don't even know who she is anymore. I'm in a tight spot, trying to protect my family from this toxic mess we've found ourselves in. Thanks for listening to all this. It's been a rough few days. My boyfriend hides a gambling debt and wrecks our dream of buying a house together. So I sell my place and leave him to drown in his lies. Am I 29-year-old female justified in feeling betrayed by my boyfriend? 29-year-old male backtracking on buying a house? I, 29-year-old female, feel like my boyfriend, 29-year-old male, led me on with a house buying plan. So we've been together a few years now, not married and no kids. I have a house in my name only, whereas he's never owned a house before. We both are in a good financial situation and have no kids. I've always said I'd like to live with the partner and then buy together when the time is right. My house is small and doesn't have good parking or a nice garden, and it's not a great location. We've been talking for a few months about buying a house together, and initially he was concerned about buying before living together. I agreed, and so we decided to live together whilst looking for a house. We've been living together for 5 months now, and I've listed my house. Throughout the last few months, we've gone to house viewings on multiple weekends, told our friends and family, and gotten excited about certain houses and how to make them our own. Now I'm in a position to sell, and we've found a lovely house, but he's just told me he's gotten cold feet, and it's all happening at once, and he wants to back out. He wants to potentially buy solo and commute to each other's house, or save up and buy in the future, potentially years down the line. We've looked at areas specifically for him, for good parking, good commute, and it feels like if I bought solo, it would still be for him in mind. But it would be smaller as only me buying, and I could potentially sink thousands in legal fees, and potentially sell at a bad time, whilst he has all the flexibility. I feel a bit betrayed because we've had months of house buying, where he seems so enthusiastic, only to pull the whole plug after we've gotten to the absolute no turning back point. I'm worried he just doesn't see a future with me, if he doesn't want to commit now. We've been very pragmatic and set an absolute 50-50 split of the house, and in the event of a worst-case scenario, we'd sell up or sell to the other person. I'm worried he's just getting cold feet because he doesn't see a future. And I feel like I'm just getting strung along, being told one thing for months, only to completely backtrack. I feel hurt and let down that he's completely not considered how I felt. He always was going to buy solo before me, and was going to buy without me, and then was going to buy with me, and now not buy at all. I could have bought myself a nicer house a year ago solo, but I thought we'd buy together, and now he's not sure at all. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I have some pragmatic advice first. Never buy a home with someone that you aren't married to. Second, once you do, then don't sell your house. That is a premarital asset. Keep it and rent it out. He actually has a good plan. You have your house, he goes and gets his house. If this progresses into marriage, then you decide how to combine finances and give each other equity and ownership into the home. Maybe you sell yours in 3 years and buy into his. Comment 2. My husband backed out of the process about 10 times before we actually settled on a house. If possible, I just would recommend you stay at the house you are currently at, especially if he's not into moving in together. You won't get anywhere near the payment you have for that house now, even for a smaller house, with the interest rates how they are. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. A lot has happened since the last post. Just when I thought things couldn't get more tangled, they did. My boyfriend, the one who got cold feet about the house, dropped the news on me. Turns out, he's been hiding a massive debt that he's ashamed of. And that's the real reason he's backing out. He didn't want to drag me into his financial mess, but by keeping it a secret, he's made things worse. I found out about the debt in the worst way possible. We were having dinner and a collection agency called. He tried to brush it off, but I could tell something was off. After some pressing, he confessed. He's tens of thousands in debt due to some bad investments and a gambling problem I had no idea about. The secret debt is the reason he's been so hesitant. He's scared that tying our finances together would ruin my credit too. I was floored. Here I was, feeling betrayed because I thought he was unsure about our future. But in reality, he was trying to protect me from his financial crisis. It's a mess, and now I'm faced with a hard choice. Do I stick around and help him through this? Or do I walk away from a relationship that's suddenly become very complicated? The past week has been pretty tough. I've been trying to sell my house, which is stressful enough, and now I'm dealing with this. I've been talking to friends and family, trying to get advice. Everyone has their own opinion, and it's hard to know what to do. My trust in him has taken a hit, and I'm not sure if it can be repaired. On top of that, I've been looking at houses alone, trying to figure out if I should just go ahead with buying a new place by myself. It's not what I wanted, but I need to think about my future too. I've seen a couple of places that could work, but it's not the same without him by my side, excited about our potential new home. The other night, we had a long talk. He's deeply sorry and embarrassed. He's promised to get help for his gambling and to work on paying off his debt. He's even suggested a payment plan and has started looking for a second job. But promises are one thing, actions are another. I'm torn between wanting to support him and feeling like I need to protect myself. I've been doing some soul searching, trying to figure out what I want. It's not just about the house anymore. It's about whether I can be with someone who's kept such a big secret from me. It's about trust and whether it can be rebuilt. In the end, I made a decision. I told him that I need some space to think things through. I'm going to proceed with selling my house, but I'm putting the plans to buy a new one on hold. I need to see that he's serious about fixing his finances and his gambling problem before I can commit to anything else with him. It's been a tough week and I'm exhausted, but I'm also relieved that I know the truth now, even if it's not what I wanted to hear. I'm taking things one day at a time, focusing on what I need to do for myself. It's not the update I expected to give, but it's where things are at right now. Thanks for reading. My husband's self-doubt and accusations drove our marriage to the brink. But when I found out about his work confidant, I made sure his probation turned into a career-ending scandal. My husband has struggled with low self-esteem and other mental health struggles for a long time. It got worse when he started his residency. He is a surgical resident. He is constantly stressed and depressed, which is understandable. I consider myself to be a very empathetic person and a good listener, and I have always been there for my husband in whatever capacity he needs me. However, he has never been much of a talker, especially when it comes to his feelings. So, despite me encouraging him to open up, he never really wanted to. All of that changed a few months ago. I mentioned he struggles with his mental health. However, he has never really been formally diagnosed with anything by a psychiatrist. He has received prescriptions for antidepressants and anti-anxiety meds from his primary care doctor, but he never actually ends up taking them. However, a few months ago, everything came crashing down, seemingly out of nowhere, and I believe he is suffering from some sort of mental break. His self-esteem plummeted, and he is constantly talking about how terrible a husband / doctor / friend he is. He says he has nothing to offer me or the rest of the world. He wants a divorce. He wants me to leave him. He wants to quit his job and become a hermit. The negative self-talk is constant. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's pretty much every waking moment that he's with me. Somehow I managed to convince him to see a specialist. He was given an antidepressant by a psychiatric nurse practitioner, which to my knowledge he has been taking. He's on the wait list for a psychiatrist. However, he still refuses therapy. I can sort of understand this because given his work schedule, I have no idea how he would fit therapy sessions in. The problem is it's starting to affect me pretty badly, and I don't know when to draw boundaries. When he accuses me of not loving him, I reassure him that I do. A typical conversation goes like this. Him, you don't want to be with me anymore. I'm just a loser. Me, you're not a loser, and I don't want to leave you. I love you more than anything. Why do you think so negatively about yourself? Him, because I am worthless. You should just divorce me, or I'll divorce you. I bring nothing of value to your life. I'm a terrible husband and doctor. Me, no, you're not. You're a wonderful husband. You're just struggling, and I want to help you. Him, no, you don't. You don't love me at all. Me, yes, I do. I love you so much, and I want you to see yourself the way I see you. Him. Well, I want you to see me the way I view myself, which is that I'm a horrible fat loser who is a drain on society. Me. You're not any of those things. It's at this point that he starts to get angry, frustrated with me for disagreeing with him. Of course, I disagree with him. But if I do the opposite and just sit, listen, and rub his back while he vents, then he gets frustrated with my lack of response and takes it as validation that what he is saying is true. I feel like no matter what I do, I can't win. I told him he needs to keep certain feelings to himself if he's not going to listen to what I think about them. But he is welcome to talk to me about things that are constructive or things that he's actually willing to be reassured about. But he's not actually looking to be reassured because he just tells me I'm wrong when I do reassure him. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. So I am in a situation with some similarities. I use noise-canceling headphones and timers and schedules. I will physically leave the house. I will say, you have 2 minutes to vent about this. And after that, I put my headphones back on. I scheduled an hour once a week to listen to any vents, rants, complaints, and insistent suggestions. If any come up outside of that time, I just respond with, okay, you can talk to me about this at X time, and continue what I was doing. It is a stopgap until I can move out. I have to move out because my partner is hypercritical, emotionally manipulative, refuses accountability, and does not respect my boundaries or my well-being by treating me like your husband treats you. This is not healthy. I am not a therapist, and I am not a mom or a manager or a maid. Neither are you. I'm sorry to give you this opinion, but he sounds like he is harassing you. You do not have to do anything you do not consent to, and that includes listening to tirades or being emotionally terrorized. Comment 2. So, in that whole paragraph about his feelings, he didn't actually articulate a single emotion. You don't love me at all is not a feeling. I'm a loser is not an emotion. This thing you want him to stop doing is not talking about his feelings. It's telling ugly lies about you and himself. You're perfectly right to ask him to stop. A therapist wouldn't let him sit there and shit-hawk himself either. They would try to get him to actually talk about and understand his feelings, not the ugly thoughts his unnamed feelings are dredging up. There's no fix for this other than actual therapy with an actual therapist. Good job putting up that boundary, because these self-flagellation sessions are 100% just making things worse for both of you, and they need to stop. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around to hear more. So, the other day, he came home with this look on his face, like he'd seen a ghost. Turns out he made a mistake at work, a big one. A patient got hurt because of something he did wrong in surgery. He was beside himself, saying it was all his fault and that he should quit. I tried to tell him that everyone makes mistakes, but he wouldn't listen. He was sure he was going to get fired, but he didn't get fired. Instead, they put him on probation and assigned him a mentor to oversee his work. He was humiliated. He said the mentor was just there to babysit him because he couldn't be trusted. I saw it as a chance for him to learn and grow, but he saw it as a punishment. Then, as if things couldn't get worse, I found out he's been talking to someone else. A woman from work. He swears it's nothing, that she's just a friend who listens to him. But I found messages where he's pouring his heart out to her, telling her things he won't tell me. I felt betrayed. I confronted him and he said I was being paranoid, that I didn't understand the pressure he was under. He said she was the only one who understood what he was going through. I didn't know what to think. I wanted to believe him, but it was hard. And then, just when I thought we could maybe work through it, his mentor called me. He said my husband was spiraling, that he was worried about him. He asked if my husband had a history of mental health issues. I didn't know what to say. I felt like I was betraying my husband by even talking to the mentor, but I was also scared for him. The mentor suggested an intervention. He said we needed to get my husband help before it was too late. I agreed, but when we tried to talk to him about it, he blew up. He said we were all against him, that we were trying to ruin his career. He stormed out and didn't come back for hours. When he finally did come back, he was different. He said he'd had an epiphany, that he realized he needed to change. He promised to start therapy, to work on our marriage, to be better. I wanted to believe him, but part of me was scared it was just another empty promise. And then, yesterday, he came home with flowers and a smile. He said he'd had a great day at work, that his mentor was impressed with him. He said he felt like he was turning a corner. I was happy for him, but I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all too good to be true. I guess I'll just have to wait and see what happens next. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.